explaining that I like a little background on my pictures, but I didn't want to spend a lot of money buying frames. So I decided I could make my own. And I started out being pretty more creative than I am these days. And I would buy the 1x2 or 1x3, and I bought this little molding and I glue it on. Before I chop it, I have a chop saw, so I cut the 45s and put it together. And that's what this one is. This is an older frame, not an older picture, but an older frame. And I didn't I used deck screws and I didn't countersink them, so that it looks pretty crummy on the edges. One thing I did know from the old days when I did picture framing is your nails into the frame should always be at the top and the bottom. So if it's, you know, a portrait, then they're here, but if it's landscape, then they're here, you know, alongside, because that's where you see them the least. Unfortunately, like I said, these were countersunk. I used a stain on the wood. Sometimes that doesn't work real well, especially if you use wood putty to fill any cracks. So now I've basically gone to using paint, spray painting. This one, I connected, this over here, I connected the frame to, or the canvas, frame to the canvas by just screwing through the frame into the canvas and through the wood into the canvas. And yeah, 2 places, pretty easy. So I just want to pass this around and show you kind of the different things I've done to mount the canvases. This one I think is painted with acrylics. My acrylic paint that I use on pictures. By the way, this picture is all, that one too, it's all tissue paper with a little acrylic. This is tissue paper. The only acrylic on here is the white. And you can see that I have the screws through screw eyes. The screws going into, let me do this over here. Don't have that. Oh. So I do the screw eyes into the side of the wood here, and then I screw that into. Now, this is real easy to take the picture off and put a different picture on. Again, this one I, you know, was ambitious and put molding, little molding around the edge to make it seem more like a frame. Let me take this one. This one is, again, a tissue. I think this is molding from, you know, that you use in a house. Through the framing wasn't enough. So because of the way the frame was, I used a D ring plus screws, 2 screws and a D ring to put it in.
That's cool.
Just trying to figure out the best way to do things. Maybe I'll stop a minute and say I've gotten, so now I have 3 drills. 1 is electric, 2 with battery, so that I don't have to keep changing out the bits. I have 1 that drills a hole, 1 that does the countersink hole, you know, to make it bigger, and then 1 that screws in the screw into the corners. Because I'm so, you know, a bit changing out the bit. I started by using clamps on the edge of my piece of plywood board on the sawhorses, and recently I got this, and these are very nice, much to make good corners, but they're still not perfect. I'm not a cabinet maker. I know some people are, and can do really. What is it called? They weren't that expensive.
What's the name of it?
It's corner. It's corner. I bought it on Amazon.
Oh,
And I found out because I'm doing smaller things, I can only use one at a time. Because when you're thinking about the picture and you're putting your frame in it, okay, your frame is like this, you can imagine. You can't put the next corner in because the handle is in the way. So I have two of them, but I really only use one at a time. If I ever have a really big canvas, I guess I can do two corners at once, but I'm mostly doing one corner. This is another picture, tissue paper picture. And because it's a store-bought frame, so now instead of like this one, where I've got my canvas on top of it, doing a wooden frame, and I'm using, like in this case, I'm putting screw eyes here in the inside of the frame, and then screwing through that into the canvas, into the stretcher bars of the canvas. This one, the canvas sticks out a little farther than the frame, so I did the opposite. I put the screw eyes in the stretcher bars and screwed it into the frame. Seems to work pretty good. And that's the case with this one also. This is a store-bought frame. I use screw eyes into the canvas and then the screws down into the frame. And
They have those offset, tank offset. Have you used those?
I tried to use those, but they were never the right height. So then I tried flat. I mean, I can't tell you how many different things I've tried. Tried to flatten out. I tried using the sawhorse things because they're a different level. That didn't work too well either. So I think the only, well, this one I can show you. This one again, I had some really thin wood. Actually, I have with my screw eyes through the front of it, so don't pay attention to that. I cut it, it was a little too big for the canvas. So then I put more wood behind.
I'm just gonna borrow one of yours to show, if mine's easy to show what I did. Because it makes sense when I do mine, I'm gonna borrow one of yours to show.
So this one is just a little different. And then just recently, my friend Regina, who's not here, said, oh, you should make those frames that have that little shadow around it. And so this is the background. It's not a picture of anything yet. When I'm doing collages, I usually make a background, acrylic background. And this is the same frame as this, but I glued on this thinner stuff around the side. What I would say is that just like I did on those ones with the little edge, I would glue it on first when it's long. That you've got your long pieces of wood, because I don't know, just didn't seem like it was very sturdy. I have not come some nails on this, and I'm not really finished with it. I just brought it for a demo. The other thing is, because I have the 3-inch, 1x3 inches, 2.5 inches. My canvas is back here, so I couldn't use the screw on that. I had to, find where that stretcher is, which I didn't do too well right there, and then put the screws through the wood into the stretcher. This one I painted I had more than one of these, so it was painted black. I put the surround on it, and then I taped off.
So this is that frame.
This is that piece around it. Right. And I taped it off when I painted the green. I taped it off black so that it would be a little shadow effect. So the only other hints I can give you is that you're painting and always putting your wood. I save all these little things because then when I'm painting, I have something to stand it on, and I could spray, and I'm sure to get all the edges here. I passed this wrong. So I have ones with different heads, but this is the nails for the screws I'm now using, not deck screws anymore. Besides my picture frames. I have a little kit, so I have, here's what I drill with, here's my countersinking bit, and here's my screwdriver bit that I put into the 3 drills, and I just keep them all together with the little nails. Because I have a pretty shop with a lot of stuff in it, and hunting it all down, taking it out of my, container of drill bits, etc. It's a big problem. Like I said, I did start out with 2 drills, one that was the battery powered one and one that was electric. And I used the electric one for drilling the holes, and the 2 battery powered ones I used for the countersinking and then drilling in the screws. But when I just had one that, I was constantly, it was the battery powered one, I kept changing out from the countersinking bit to the screwdriver bit. And it's like, finally I said, so I bought this little, the least expensive little electric drill I could find.
So the countersinking bit, that's screwing like a bigger hole to get the head
Right.
down in?
Right.
So is there like a flat thing on the bottom with?
No, you just make it bigger. Okay. Here's the bit for the screw. Here's the bit for the countersink. So it's big enough to handle with this. And you just sink it in about 1/8 of an inch or so, between 1/8 and
Oh,
1/4.
those match your screws. So you already determine the sizes.
Yeah, so I don't have to go looking at it. It makes it a lot easier to have a little kit. So I made myself this little kit. The only other thing, all the corners should be glued. So first you put glue on the wood. You're putting it in your ice thing here. Put it in your vise. It'll show up here.
Did you miter
then-
those corners, Robin?
I do. I miter the corners for sure.
Thank you.
I have 2 pieces. I don't have another piece with me, so. here's it. So if you're putting them together, kind of get it set up, and then you put glue on the edges, because it's really the glue, the wood glue that holds it together.
Yeah.
So, can you see that? So this is one, I should have brought another angle, but anyway. So, and then you drill in, remembering which is the top and bottom of the frame that you're making, for the picture. And you drill in and glue it, and then you can take, once the screws will hold it together pretty well, you just put it to the side till the glue dries. You can't start manipulating or sanding it or putting wood putty on it or anything, to fill the holes till the glue dries, because the glue is really what's holding the frame together the most. The nails kind of keep it from skewing, but the glue is what holds it. The rest of my little kit, so I have the glue, and I brought this stuff for framing for Rock and Fine Arts. D-rings, screws and D-rings and wire, and the method for measuring the D. I usually decide how far down, and I usually just use the awl to make a hole, put my screw on it. And I do it usually based on the end of the awl. Maybe I move it to the here, if it's a bigger picture. You can measure it, but it's not that critical, just to put the holes in with the screw. Any questions? This is like quick and dirty method, but I think, people have asked me how I do this. I just wanted to make it simple for myself and reusable. The ones with the screw eyes are very reusable. I have switched out pictures and stuff. that I'm showing. I live in Springfield in Rockland, senior community. And we have a little display every 6 weeks. And, you know, I have pictures behind my couch and I have pictures here and there. You know, I can switch them out in between the frames, so I don't always have to have a frame. Any questions?
Robin, you obviously really like doing that. Do you find it's more economical for you to make your own or to buy them and put your rings on them? You like to do woodworking, I can tell.
I don't, it's okay. I am not making, you know, if somebody wants to buy my picture and replace the frames, that's fine. And in fact, like I said, I've just gone to the more simple ones, try not to make them look like a molding picture frame anymore, because I am not that good a woodworker. I don't have the proper tools, and I'm not buying good wood. If you were buying birch, and it's all precise, and my chop saw was a better saw, and had a thinner blade or something, I don't know, it might be better. But to me, it's just, I just like the little frame on it, and I don't worry so much about making it perfect.
Jackie asked about you mitering your corners. What did you use to do that?
Well, you can buy a little miter box with a saw, but I have a chop saw. So that's one of my purchases along the way.
Yeah.
When you're making lots of things, helpful. But actually, I think my husband had that. I also had a router at one time. I gave it to my grandson. I thought, oh, I'll route her out around, you know, so I could put my picture frames in. I did a couple of them. It's like, I couldn't even get it straight, but it's not worth it. It's not worth it for me. I'd rather I'll just mount them on top, which means, by the way, that I have to paint the sides of my little canvas. So I kind of try to bring the picture around the side.
But that's fun to do.
Yeah, I mean, the funniest part about it is when you're painting on the side, you don't have to be very precise at all, just kind of bring the color around a little bit. You know, not really part of the picture, just finish it off. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Do you want to run that little video?
Maureen, do you have something to share?
Yeah, I
that's
sold
right.
my piece at the, and she came and picked it up Monday, because otherwise I would have it here, but I'm just.
You need to come up here.
Okay. And I have an appointment at like 1 o'clock, so I'm just, let's see, it's called. So I'm just showing you on her. So I took a canvas and because it just really needed a frame, and to just kind of finish it. So I put my canvas on a piece of board. I just cut out a piece of, plywood, and I put it on there. And then, so it had the lip around it, like less than this. So I'm like, okay, so what am I gonna do? So I have tile more than anybody knows. And so I have all this tile, as Celeste does, because I do mosaic, but not so much glass like she does. So what I did was I just glued all the tile along here, because they were long pieces, and all around here. Actually, that painting was in our last
I don't know how to do it.
last shelf. So so I tiled it all the way around because they were long skinny pieces. So I just glued it on, then I went over with the grout and just filled it in. So it really set it off because it had a lot of green in it. So I had these pieces of tile that were all, so it's just kind of another way. If I had it here, it would make more sense, but it's pretty self-explanatory. It's just like taking these little pieces, and I measured it, so it was just like just the size of that tile. So it just went all the way around. So in fact, the lady that bought it said, "Oh, I really like the frame." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, it wasn't really much of a frame. It was just, but it did set off the picture." So it worked. So if, and then there was one more, actually the other Maureen for a frame, like if you really need a frame. And she showed us this, and it was, should have brought that, I didn't even think of that one, where you have a piece of glass and then you take your, it's the stuff that you use to like, if you have a leaky faucet, it's a glue, it's clear. And you put it all over the glass and you just take your canvas and you put it there. And it was, that was one of the other ones I had in there. And I should have thought of bringing that one. And I learned that one, that little trick was from a, someone that was a art therapist. And all it is, because it's already, it's just, say it's a glass frame that you already have. You have the frame, you have the glass in the frame, and you just take your canvas and you go right over that piece of glass and you glue it on there.
It's not
It's,
stretcher box or anything. You cut the
yeah, you
canvas.
just glue it right on there and it works and it looks good. And it's, but it is that special kind of glue, and you get it at Home Depot or Lowe's, and it's like, it's a silicone.
Silicone
glue.
is adhesive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
it's
and
clear.
so because it'll adhere to glass. So those are my two that I've worked with.